So we were holding in Omid Tov Kov, about a third of the way down the Omid as far as my memory carries it. We're doing with the Madrega, what we call the Makif of Oil Choizer, and we saw in the Mashpia, and we saw that was such inyonim which are not shaykh his galus to the Makabel cloud. They were any from steamers mitad atzmo. We were doing the cloud with the concept of Chokhmah Stimora. We're talking about the Shorsh of Chokhmah Hagluya, which was Chokhmah Stimora. And we saw that in the steamers of Chokhmah Stimora two Madrigas, what we called Sosom, Mia Makablim, but F Shori Levoyli, De Gili, Ela Makablim. And then we saw Sosum Mitadatzma, Sosum Be'etem, was not Chai Klau, leaning from Gila Ela Makablim, Mitad Seida Hagilu. And we saw that led us, or that was a answer to the original Kashia that we had. How can Chokhmah Stimora be a Mokir of Chokhmah Hagluya? Well, that's what we say it is. We brought down Beichochis to that we say that Chokhmah Stimora is a Mokir for Chokhmah Hagluya. And we spoke about how that's Nimshak mi Chokhmah Hagluya is Nimshak mi Chokhmah Stimora, there are silos. And we saw what was in from silos. But even so, we had on that itself, Gufa, a Shaila, that if we're going to say that it's completely and utterly Gamli Muda, we call Shaykhas El Makablim, then how can it be even B'derech Cyrus Buvad, how can it be Nimshach in the form of a Mochi Techot Gluya? So in that we came to the conclusion that there were two Madrigas in Chokhmah Stimora, that there was a Yinim of Chokhmah Stimora, our Sosum, our Sof Kosof, F Shori Shiove Be'ez Derech Gilui, and then Sosum Mamish Biatzme. And that Madriga we said Sosum Mamish Biatzme, that we call Pnimius Atik, Shib Chokhmah Stimora. And that was one of the Biurim in the Maimar Pnimius Abahi Pnimius Atik. So we went on to describe in detail those two Madrigas in Chokhmah Stimora, or to find a Dimian in Mavur Benegir to Ashpoev and Mashpia, that there are two Ifani Makif, two Inyonim which remain Makif to the Makablim. One is called the Makif of El Yosha Mitzad the Mashpia, and the other is called Makif de El Choizer Mitzad the Mashpia. So we described it some length that Makif de El Choizer, Makif de El Yosha Mitzad the Mashpia means that Sof Kosof, the Ashpoa, even how it is B'derech Makif, can eventually become Miskala to the Makablim. Therefore it's a Makif, Ha'efshori, Be'eze Shuderech Lovoi, Be'eze Pam, or Be'eze Oifen, that it could come B'negir to Gilui El Makablim, Mitzad Seder Ha-Inyonim of the Gilui. Whether it be Mitzad Ayirida, Mesuyemets Mitzad the Mashpia, or Be'ikar it's Mitzad the Izdachakus, the Keglim, and the Aliyah Mitzad the Makablim, they're able to be Makabel and Naila Yoisa, and when there's more to them, the Inim and that Makif. Over the Makif, which even in the Mashpia himself, that's even from Makif to Hainu, that it's always Kilo Oile V'choize B'toichoi. Even from Eimek, Achar Eimek, B'toich, the Mashpia himself, well, that never, and is not child to go to Begila to the Makablim, because Ein said, B'chinas Yerida B'chlav, Ram Shocha. That's where we were holding. And so we discussed somewhat at the beginning of the Indian of the Makif of Royal Choizer, and we brought Kama to Mois Mizeh, and we were holding after the brackets about a third of the way down the page was there Indian based on Makifim. As I remember, I think that's a good place to come in to the whole Hezbollah. Was there Indian based on Makifim, Chidnus Makif de Yosha, Mitzad the Mashpia, שהוא בחינת ההלם השייך אל המקבלים. It's like a helem, but it can, and the implication being that it will eventually come to the Mekablim. Op beginnes Makiv de Oyer Goizer, so beginnes a Helem de Mashpia Atzmoi. That say not just a Helem in the Ashpoa, no, that's a Helem in the Mashpia himself, Shem Mitzad Atzmoi. Meaning that it's even in Yonim, which by him, a Makiv, and they kilo Goizer, betoich Atzmusei, ve'oile, ve'helem Atzmusei, betoich HaMashpia himself. In other words, that they're not inyanim, which even by him, he's oisik behem begolo. The kilo inyanim which remain lamaila from what he is be'etzem oisik begolo. Afilu b'toich atzmi. And so we saw that was the two inyanim, the mem stuma and the samach we brought down from the Zohar Kodesh. But there's the inyan of the mem stuma, what that indicates a makiv, because it's sogem mikol tzad, and the samach also is sogem mikol tzad and indicates a initial makiv. The difference being that the mem stuma is maruba lefiera. What that indicates a squareness, which indicates a certain yisyashvas. So even though it's a makiv, and it's l'mayla mi koiches ha-mekablim, to be mekabel, but eventually it can be mishyashiv etzlam gam. That's why in its etzim so b'mekoiroi it's in the form of a mem stuma, which indicates a certain yisyashvas in kavim. Ilu the samuch we saw that it's ogu, that's a circle, and it's circular in shape. Shebuti mishyashiv. It doesn't have any settling or how do you call it, sitting downness in any prat. Adraba ubchinus ahelem biatzmei. Those are the helem betoich etzem hamashpia atzmei. Olamaila, says the Rebbe, Hainu, if we talk about that, is lamaila, kemoi, we see the pasuk which says Yoshes choshech sisrei, that the Eibush literally places darkness as his hiding place, as his place of, what you call it, his place of concealment. His seisa, sisrei, his place of concealment is darkness. In other words, that the Eibush literally makes himself a hiding place, which is darkness. In other words, indicating things which are withheld from the Mekablim. So yesh b'seh beis inyonei makifim anal. In other words, that pasuk Yoshes choshech sisrei bears in itself two pirushim which are matim to those two inyonei makif that we described earlier. Aleph, shenikra chashmal elyoin. It's a very difficult passage here. It's well known as a maimor from the Rebbe. I think it was Toshin Kof. The Rebbe chazed several maimarim in those years. Yutes, Kof Aleph. The Rebbe chazed quite a number of maimarim from the Iron Base, Siddur. But he brought them down with Tesis Neifer and Shilei and different biurim. It's this whole thing occurs either in the Hemshech of Toshin Kof Tishrei or Toshin Kof Aleph. It's very difficult to know. And the usage of the terminology is a little bit unusual, because every now and then you'll find expressions like this one, Chashmal Elyoin, but he doesn't really explain himself. He says this is Chashmal Elyoin, Shemashtir es atzmei, or Malbish es atzmei belevush, behelem, lagabi ha-mekablim, sheyuchal lovoi achachach legiloi bahem. But nonetheless, v'zehu ba'oyer ashayich el ha-mekablim. Soch, that oil is b'yem and shayach to the mekablim. So what's it got to do with Chashmal Elim? It's interesting how everything's got some sort of a shayach. Purely plus, I've noticed that we always seem to meet up one way or another. Well, that inyan from Chashmal is mavur in Torah Pashalech Lecha. It's a beer, yeah. And the Alter Rebbe in two of the Maimarim in Pashalech Lecha. In Torah, the Vantzach Inyan from Chashmal. And it's got to do with Inyan Amila. what we find at the end of this parsha is the mitzvah Mila to Avraham Avinu. Is in the drushim which have to do with Mila. There's a whole in this Bia, the Lashon Al Pi Kabbalah, this Lashon Chashmal, and therefore we find in mitzvah Mila, mitzvah Sefer, he also talks about Barichas, and he divides it there into the two words, and also in Likutei Torah it occurs in Lam Nater Al Shminiyos in Pash Tazria. The Alter has got a Maimar of Dal Mila, very, very complex Maimar, one of the difficult Maimar in Likutei Torah in Pash Tazria. And Dort, he also brings he's the Mokkeh, and then in Torah Mitzvah is brought. They divide the word Chashmal into two words, Chashmal. In other words, the name from Mal is Mila, and that's Mamshik. It comes from the Madrega from Chash. But the word Chash means to be quiet. Yeah? Chash can be the idea of shtika. Yeah? The view over there in Torah is slightly different, but it's connected, and there's a shaykhs to the view how this in those Maimonim about the Inif and Mila. Well, suffice it to say that the Inif and Chashmal is the Levush of Bina. That's to say that there's a Inif and Etzem Hasoge, and Etzem Gilu, Sfiras Abina, and then there's a Levush which goes out from Bina and literally is Nimshach Misaviv Lamidas. And it's like a protecting koyach, that some traits of the Asoge of Bina, how it is B'Taharosa in the Emes Asoge, like guards the midas. It's like an Aim Habonim Smecha. Then you might say that Bina is an Emes Aim Habonim, and she never really lets the Bonim completely run away and part from her Hashpah. In order that it shouldn't be unique from the midas, because the midas become any from Teikif Hergish, they become any from Miskalas of a certain Koyach Hayeshes and a certain Koyach of what you might call Vasicha, things of that nature, what's going on. But the Ike unique Lechitanium is from midas, and in Olam HaToihu, the Ike Shvira was in the Inif from midas, Mihai Taima. Therefore, from Bina's Nimshach Amin Lavushaza, what goes all the way around underneath Hoid, and according to some Biram even includes Yisod, and it's Kilo Makifus Kolamidas, and protects them from the union of too much Toikef Aiskalis, which would eventually lead to Yanika Chitania. You might say, as long as they're in Olam HaTzilas, what's the problem of Yanika Lechitanium? The touch is that they shouldn't be nimshach Yosem Midai into the Indian Amalchas, because then it would lead to a union of Yosem Midai Giloin, and through that it would be Yanika Lechitanium. Or there would al Chaponim be a Gilui Shaloi Lafi Amida of what is intended at the Indian Amidas. So the Alter Rebbe describes that when he describes it in Aveda, when a person is Mizbeinain, we see that there always remains a certain makif kloli of the seichel, which embraces all of the midas that he brings out through that seichel, or inyanim which come from different inyanim in seichel. In other words, that an emes of Balaveda is always aware of what's happening with himself. His midas always under the guard of his seichel. They never run in a way that he would never allow them to have a certain control under his dictation. And therefore, it's written that Achsil, lo yakpeit Achsil b'tavuna. But that fits beautifully that emes of fool is, I know what these midas run him, he doesn't want tavuna, and that's exactly connected with the concept of tavuna, because tavuna is the lower madrega of midas, of bina, outside of shachas to midas. It's like the union from malchus of bina, it's like the oasis of bina. Tavuna is the lower level within, we learned Barichas, you remember earlier in the Emshel, we learned Yichud Yisrael Saba u Tavuna, Well, Tavuna is like the lower level within Bina, which is Mamshit Bina Lamata into Iskalas Amidas, and also it's got a shaykh to the Oisias, which later come out of the Midas and cause the expression of the Midas. So we see that the Moichin never buy the Midas. They never completely let them go. Mitad the Seder of Heipach Achzil. In other words, a Chacham is always somewhat in charge of his Midas. He always got this Makif. And that's called Chashmal. And that's what's got to do with the Indian from Mila, because the whole Indian from Mila is also to, particularly on the Indian of Yisod, which is the soft of the Midas and the Kiloi of the Midas, to guard them and to keep them within proper rule of the Seder, proper, proper Kedusha v'ka'eta b'zeh. That's the Indian of the Mila. So therefore the Mila is also connected with this concept of Chashmal. Then he connects it over there. Slicha.
Come to the shul.
The shul,
He came to the shul.
Huh?
He came to the shul.
I came to the shul.
From Australia.
Huh?
Australia.
Where are you from, I ask?
From Sydney.
Huh?
Where am I from?
I'm sorry?
First, I will answer the question.
If I may ask where he's from?
From Sydney. He lives in Kakhabad.
I should talk about. But where are you from right now?
I live in Kakhabad.
Oh, you live in Kakhabad?
You know my brother-in-law, Gilad Musif?
Huh?
Gilad Musif?
Gilad.
Gilad?
He's my brother-in-law.
Gilad's your brother-in-law.
He married my sister.
Because there's another brother-in-law of Gilad in Kakhabad. Cohen.
Yeah.
He's also...
He also married my sister.
You're not from... you didn't learn here once in... you're not maybe from... what's it over there? Nativois or something like that? No?
What?
You come from Nativot? Baruch, is your name Baruch? Maybe?
No, that's my brother. He lives in Ashdod.
Huh? That's your brother?
Yeah, that's my brother.
Oh. In other words, your Gilad's wife's brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. In other words, that young man in Nativois, Baruch, he's your brother.
He's in Ashdod. He lives in Ashdod.
In Ashdod, I'm sorry. Yeah, Ashdod. Yeah. So I remember Baruch. He learned here in the
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
So you're already married and you live here in Kakhabad? Very good. Shalom Aleichem. Israel, that's the Indian of the Lavush HaChashmal. That's the Nakuda which is brought down over there in these Maimonim in Pasha Lech Lecha. That's the amazing connection with the Pasha Shavua. That the Shas, the Indian Amila, is miscaled this particular Lavush, which is connected with the Indian for Tavuna. And therefore it's a form of guarding Makif over Kol Midas from the Moichin. In other words, it's the koyach of the Yetzim HaMoichin to be Mufshat. And therefore it's called Chash, the union of Chash Mal, the union from Shtike and Bittel. It literally carries over the Bittel of the Moichin into these scholars of the Midas. And particularly it's shot to the union of Mila, because Mila is the union from Gilei Yisod. And there has to be there the infant Shmira with the ganze Indian, like his mother of the Barichas in der Mitzvah Secha. Here where the Rebbe says that the Indian at the Makif of the Oyer Yosha, the Makif Adi Shaykh al Makablim, which is called Yoshes Choshech Sisrei, so he says that that's the Indian of Chashmal Elyoy. שמסתיר את עצמי ומלביש את עצמי בלבוש בהלם לגבי המקבלים שיוכל לבוא אחר כך לגילוי בהם וזהו בעיר השייך אל המקבלים. So just like over there in the lower Madrega, how Chashmal was out to the Mitzvah they are in Atzilus, and I feel the Mitzvah of Miskala into Malchus and eventually into Biyah. That's how it's Mavur in Torah in this week's Pasha. So it appears that even though it's Choser a little bit of Hezbollah here, that's actually we come to the Mila Chashmal. But since we're talking in the Indian from Kili of Chochmas Timor, and we're talking, and the Ika Shaila is out in Chochmas Timor become a mochit to Chochma Gluya. Then we have to say that in the etzem shoyrish of Chochmas Timor, how it is mitzad atzmo, then there's also this levush which is nimshat to the Makablim. In other words, to Chochma Gluya, how it is in Atzilus, and the Madregas Bein Taim, that there's nimshach a levush for the sake of Helem, Makabel, but to protect the Makabel, and to make him eventually able to be Makabel, the Hashpoya, how it is Be'emet. And so we could say that the Tzad HaDimyan is that over there, the Chashmal, Ameduba in the Maimorim and Torah this week, over there the protection is, and the Levush HaNimshach Bibina, Derech Tavuna, is in order to protect the Hashpoya that should be able to reach out in the Biyah, but even Arotzo, it should be in our Evav and Tachlis Akavon and Tachlis Shmira V'chulu. We have to suggest that the same meaning here, that in the Yin from Chochmas Timor, there's a Lavush Azah which hides it in order to make it, how do you call it, Ra'ui El Makablim, eventually able to reach them. So mitzad echad it's a Lavush, and every Lavush has in itself a certain Helem, but mitzad Hasheni it's a in which is in his gallows, and that's the two words chash mal. Chash means quiet, shtika. Chash means in shtika, helem, and withdrawal. The from mal. Mal means to open up. Well, that's the Indian of the mila, and also mal is a root word in Aramic for talking. Mamalalei, mamamel, and so on, as also l'sheines in Aramic mean dibur, which dibur is in from Giloi. So therefore, chashmal. So the same thing here, that in Chochma Stimor, there's a tzad, what the etzem word Stimor implies that it's moved over in a Makablim, but it hides within a Zah Levush, which the Levush is on the one hand a helem from the Makablim, but on the other hand it's a protective thing which eventually helps them to be Makabel, the Giloi, even which won't cause any bilbul. In this Madrega we're not talking about Yanika L'chitania. So there we call it Chashmal Elyon. What is master is atzmi or malbish is atzmi b'levush vehelem lagabi amikablim, but sheyuchal lovei achachach legiloi b'hem. That's like the two inyanim Chashmal. It's the two inyanim kilo seisher misatzmi kilo biyachad. On the one hand, it's helem miyamakablim, but the kavanah from their helem is that they should be able to be soft, they should be makabel, even from giloi. Right. Sha'inim Yechilim Mekabel Etzem Hoya. They're not able to be Mekabel the Etzem Hoyin, how it is in the Mashpia. Al Kain Tzodik Lehisalim O Miskala Rak Chitzonis Hoya. The purpose of that Lavush B'derech Helem remains always a certain Helem. In other words, it's a helem, which ultimately speaking its Indian is to give to the Makablim, but there always remains a certain withdrawal from the Makablim, that they can't really be Makabel the etzem madrega of the Mashpia, of a soft kosov, they can be Makabel me'ein mizeh, al kein tzorech le'isalim, or lisalim, or miskala rachitzein yisoya. In other words, that when there is the gilui to the Makabel through the inin of the Lavush, and so they are Makabel also a certain in the Chitzonius. There's also a me'ain from the etzem of the earth. There's also a me'ain of the pneumias. In other words, that what you might say, something gets through, something does actually go through, even from the Madrega of the Mashpia himself. That's the uftu of that lavush. Mitzad echad, there always remains a certain shemetz by the makabel, by the mashpia, but eventually the makabel is makabel not only the chitzonius but also a certain trace of the how it is Eitzel HaMashpia. ויש בזה גם מהאור המסעלה. וזה שכוסו ויושש חושך סיסרוי. That's one part, the other part is in Tehillim. ואחר כך מגלה עמוקס מיני חושך. Yeah, that's a pasuk in ear. It's another pasuk. Even though he just puts in a connection word, achachach, but those are two different psukim. What he means to say is that the Yoshes Choshech Sisrei, the placing of his hiding place in the form of a Dova Hamalim, in other words, a Lavush, or that afterwards leads to a Magale Amukais Minei Choshech, that from the Etzem Choshech and the Amukais, the Emesa Oimek of the Choshech, Magale, it comes through the fact that he placed that darkness as his lavush. Or since the darkness is only a lavush in order to be, as we saw, hashmal, it was in order to protect, as it were, the makabel, and so to make them able to be makabel. Therefore, a certain aspect of the pnimis v'atzmias is also nimshal. Now we have to say it's Deirosh Pia, or that blossom, what he says, that in the Pnimiyas, there's also a trace of the Etzem Ha'oyer. And he says the Etzem Ha'oyer is Misale. In other words, that the Etzem Ha'oyer is nicht Miskala to the Makabel, but he says that in the Chitonius Yesh Mi Ha'oyer. Yesh Mi Ha'oyer Misale. So it's Derish Pia. What does it mean? Yesh mi ha'oyer ha'misalim. What is that? Is that only a ha'ora, or is that bo'even shel mikzas min ha'etem? I mean, in what sort of even is that? So we have to say that maybe this is also a chelik from the whole Bia, which that be brought down earlier in these chapters. Adar Boyin Shnin Koyamin Shadaita the Rabbi. We see that after 40 years, the Makabel is here oile to the Etzem Das Harav. And like Rashi brings at the end of Pasuk Kisove, when we get to the Arboim Shona. Bamidbar, Rashi brings over there in the Lashon where Inosan Lachem Hashem lo Inosan Lachem Hashem Inayim. We state leiv ladas ve'inayim lirois was nayim lishmoya ad ha'yom hazeh. Ha'yom hazeh nosa. So Rashi says that ein odom oimed. Rashi mishana the Lashon of the Gemara. He says over there ein odom oimed al oimed das rabbi ad arboin shni. We spoke about the Farbrengen we had on Shabbos and Shabbos. However, Rashi's maramis that ein odom oimed al oimed das. Rabbi. It's not Ein Odom Oimed Shtamal Das Rabbi or Oimed Das Rabbi. But if you look carefully in Rashi, the period is not only just Oimed Das Rabbi, nor also the Kavona Pnimis V'Atzmius Shebetzeh. In other words, that the Oimed includes in itself not only the Oimed Musag, but also the Oimed Kavona. In other words, what you might call the whole pechel. The ganze Indian, not only the Oimek Musach, but the ganze Kavona Pnimis V'Atzmius in the Zah. And so that's after our Boim Shnin. We have to say that was Kol Hazman, little by little being miskabel to the Mekablim. It didn't just come b'bas achas. All the time during the 40 years they get all sorts of different dimensions learned, and on the contrary, through that Ribui Shimash, the Arboim Shnin, he comes to the Pnimiyah. So we have to say that what the Rebbe says here, that the Seder Hagilui, that it's only that the Mi Ha'oyer Ha'atzmi is Mizgala in the Chitzainiyas, we have to say that that's only a betchilas hashpoa or b'meshach hashpoa, of in the ultimate tachlis of this makif is that the whole makif itself will eventually be given b'pinimis. I say don't understand. And that's the Indian of our boim shnin. It takes 40 years for that to occur. What he means is that in the ashpoa is only a me'ain, me'aetzem. That means in the ashpoa eich shezeh b'derech ha-seder. But the seder is that ultimately the makabel will be oiled to the pnimis v'atzmias, how it is mitzad the mashpia. However, we're going to see that all this is all shaykh in there, which ultimately it's shaykh to the makabel, even mitzad this oimek. Minei choshech, sof kosof, it's all shaykh to the makabel. So he says, "Ubeshor shoyin." Well, this is in Chochmas Timur. We go back to the original Shoyla Shoyinian. Ubchinas Hakav, Shanimshuk Mibchinas Choshech HaTzimtzum, or Mibchinas HaHelem de Eirein Sei Shlefnei HaTzimtzum. Shenis'alem v'nista alidei HaTzimtzum, v'nisgala achachach be'akav v'chut. De'imi yesh she'agirui hu rach achitzonies, יש בזה גם מהאור שניסה להם. ואין זה פנימיוס הקו, כי אם מה שבחיצוניוס הקו, יש בזה מהאור המסה להם. כמו שקוסו במוקים אחר, ומה שנסבור לי הוא פרק קל"ז. Now in these smaller svarim, it's written Perek Kuf Lamed Daled, if I'm not mistaken. Let's say Kuf Lamed Daled. So it's a bit confusing, because in Kuf Lamed Daled there could be maybe some remnants to this Indian, and in Kuf Lamed Zayin also it's not 100% clear. But Tafis Apiru, what is the reference? I mean, it's interesting. Which was really meant to be the answer by Remokim, if it's the first one, or the second one, or maybe Toich Kidei Tikkun. It was the first one. They also had a slight, guys. It's a little bit hard to know, really, because in Kuf Lamed Daled one could maybe understand what is the Inyan over there. However, says the Rebbe that the Shoresh of this whole Inyan is that the Inyan HaTzimtzum was followed by the Inyan Akav. And the Inyan HaTzimtzum is the Inyan Shel Choshech. So what's the Inyan from Tzimtzum Shaykh to us here in this Inyan? Yoshes Choshech Sisrei said that the Oyer, Afira is Shaykh al-Makablim, Mashpia, Amitis Inyone, is that it's loy Shaykh al-Makablim Klaun, or the Etzem, it's even Etzem or Sheinu Shaykh al-Makablim, which means that there's a certain Madrege which is moved out, what we call in Yiddish, abgetrogen BMS from the Makablim. The pool of the Tzimtzum was that the Pnimis v'atzmius of the Shlefnei HaTzimtzum went into a state of withdrawal, or even Aliyah v'Stalkis Mia Gilui, not Mea Mokim, because ain't Shab Mokim, Cholila, no even Aliyah v'Stalkis, and the Inyan Akav was a Gilui of Chitzeni. Now there, it's even what you might call drastic. There the mashpia is mistalik mea mekabel, even from what you might call almost mokim ponot. Going to get linyonenu. It's a complete choisha, and therefore the oil is shloi be'er klal ela mekabel until the kav is nimshach even for chitzeni years. So we have to say that in Chochmas Timur yesh gam mi'inyan. Because we said that the etzem oil is not shaykh to the mekabel. It's an Inyan which is moved out, Mea Mekav. But we see the Peneger to the Kav, it's also through a Ribu Yishtadlus in the Inyan Kimuvur, Bekama Hemshechim from the Rabbeim, through the Inyan van Aveda, through the Inyan van Ribu Yishtadlus in the Inyan of Aveda's Odom, Ba'ilam Hazeh, then eventually he can be Mamshid, Ali Dea Kav, he can also be mamshik the amiti it was in an even for istalkes. So there is a certain tzad hadimia beinei. Aber auch upon him the inif and the choishet, the yoshes, choishet. This way here is the tzimtzum. And what would the outcome of the tzimtzum was that the pnimi v'atzmi is in an even for makif legamrei legabi the makablim. How do the makablim gain anything? They gain something through the union of a dover chitzoni bilvad, what that's the kav. In other words, a ha'ora chitzoni hashayach alayim from the oil which was completely mistalik. The Lashon has it mistalik el atzar. From that was nimshach the oil in the kav v'chut. So therefore he says that it was completely nishtar al yedei tzimtzum, but it was nishgale al yedei the kav v'chut. But in our moshul, that's how the mashpia holds the etzem ma'or completely not shy to the makabel. In other words, the tzimtzum is his holdback, and he is putting it in his own personal high state, not in a shaykhus of gilui to the makabel. And so here we have the inyan of the oyer ha'in soif, which has been nail and vanista through that tzimtzum, and the kav v'chut is the chitzonius bilvad. So he says the ima yesh ha'gilui hu rach ha'chitzonius yesh b'zeh gam me'oyer shenishalim. In other words, that hidden in the kav there's also a certain hishgalas, a certain what we might call ha'ora or trace of the which was mistalik el atzad al yedei atzimtzum. In other words, well known that there are two inyonim in the tzimtzum. There's the etzem mistalkus of the atzmi, and then there's a further tzimtzum, how do you call it, a ismaitus of even the which was nimshach in the kav. There's a certain pu'ula of ismaitus in that, which makes it pure chitoni. However, he says that in the kav there's also a nimshach from that oil which was istalki. And so he said that's the same meaning or that's how it is b'shoel shoi of what we just saw when I get to the helim in the mashpia. Ve'ein ze b'chinas pnimius hakav ki im ma shebechitzonius hakav yesh b'zeh me'oyer ha'misalim. Lachem ha'shikosim mochi macher v'ayim mashin is bo'alil pirik kuf lamed whatever it is. What is kuf lamed dalet or kuf lamed taim? So now here we see that with that extra hagua, the Rebbe is putting us in the right proportion. That there's it's mavur in Chassidus is what's called pnimis hakav in chitonius hakav. So pnimis hakav is called who knows what. Pnimis hakav is the infant tiferes anelam. In other words, that the pnimis hakav is the oil mamishat was lefnei atzimtzum, and even oid l'maylam, he said, until mamish atzmi sein seif is eventually gonna be, and he is to a certain extent miskala al yedei hakav. And that's mavur in Nundalad and other hemshechim from the Rabbi Nishmat Zayin, and even from pnimis hakav is gura apel etikizach, and that's le'eisato rubai de rubai behelem gomo. Mamish pnimis hakav, and that'll be miskala liyosid v'choli v'choli. However, the kav k'moshe hu begolui is only a chitzonius oil beneged to that oil which was nishalim al yedei the actual pulas atzimtzum. However, says the Rabbi, in the chitzonius of the kav is nimshach from that oil, but it's an initial what you might call miha oil. It's only a ha'ora from the original oil, which that's not the pnimis b'klal. We're talking in the chitonius, ekshu hu bo b'derech chitonius. There's nimshach b'yachaditoi from the oil which was misalim. But that oil which was misalim is not yet necessarily the mokeh pnimi of the kav, because as we said, the mokeh pnimi of the kav is afilu legabi the misalim also a pnimi and also Atzmis Lamayla Mizeh. And so, Beroi Vamakimis, Lo Medabrim al Pnimis HaKav Mamish. Pnimis HaKav Mamish, and that's another inyan. It's Mavur, Nuntes, and in other places of the Yosid Lovei, the Ike inyan, the Gila Atzmis is going to be Davki B'derech Pnimius. It's going to Davki be Nimshet in the Kelim, and Davki be Pnimius HaOdam, or Pnimius HaOilamas. And therefore the Kav has to have in itself a inyan from Pnimius V'Atzmias, because everything's going to be Nimshech Alidei HaKav. That's another inyan that's called Pnimius HaKav. In the Chitzonius, there's a certain inyan which is Nimshech from the Ur Misalim, and that's not Mamish Pnimius HaKav. But in that Gufa, why is that certain trace of the Ur which was Mistalik Alidei the Tzimtzum? Why is that Nimshech in the Kav? That's the Nasinas Koyach, and that's what you might call the Achiza, what the Adam has, that through Rubi Aveda, he can be Mamshech the Ur which was Mistalik. And that's what we find if you look up in certain Re'em Sheikhim, you'll see that there must be through the Oilamas, and particularly the Adam, Lamata, is Mekabel from the Kav. And in the Kav is anyway a Ha'ora from the Ur, Mistalik, Alidei Avidose, Alidei Ribu Avoida, he can be Mamshich. Through our Avoida we can be eventually Mamshich the Ur. But that's not the ultimate Chiddush of the Yossi. Because that's anyway, that Ur has already been there. It's already been Nimshach, and it was already in a way Shaykh, Be'izhu Derech, like we see here. It's Shaykh, Be'izhu Derech al Makablim. This it takes a certain time, Ad Avoin Shnin. And with the Seder, the Elamus, it's a heck of a whack more than a Bayin Shnin. Who knows how long it's taken up till now. And they say, the take of Miyad Zomen Endikim with the ganze Reis. Take of Miyad Mamish. Of Alchapanim, that was Nimshach in the Inyan of the Chitonius, in order that we should be able to eventually be Mamshet the Ur, which was Mistalik into Oilamas. But those Maimorim point out immediately that that's not the ultimate Uftu of the Yossi. That's only the, as you might call it, the beginning. The ultimate Inyan of the Yossi will be Mamish the Pnimius of the Kav. And that will be even Ein Orech. And that's the other Inyan we see here, the Makif of Choyze, how it is in the Mashpia. As all Chinyonim which are Beklal, not Shaykh, Legiloi, not even Bederach, that we saw in the Tzimtzum. And therefore, says the Rebbe, therefore, in the Ur Chitzoni is Nimshach, a certain aspect of the Ur Chitzoni, in order that you should, through your Aveda, be able to be eventually Megala and Mamshich, that in which means that even the Ur Misali is Shaykh ultimately al Makablim. The ultimate Kavanah is a Mavil, that also should come to the Makablim. It is that there had to be an even Arboim Shnin. It had to be through, the Kavanah is dafki to the Avedas Adam, V'chulim, and the ganze Arichas Mavur in many places. Who Mipfinas Ha'erein Seif HaShaykh El Eilamet. Soft, that's also Erein Seif HaShaykh Eilamet. In other words, even the other was Mistalik Alidei Tzimtzum. That's how ultimately speaking the Erein Seif HaShaykh El Eilamet. It is that Shaykh El Eilamet, even for a Tachlis Mesuyam, a thing to aim at, an ultimate Amshocha, which will be Alidei Avedas Adam. It was Shaykh to the Makabel, and the ultimate Pinimis is that the Makabel has to work for what he gets. He doesn't just get things flat in the world. Therefore, that's not the Makif Habeis. However, the second Pirush in Yoshes Chesed Titrei, Habeis Bechinas HaHester V'Helem Sheba'atzmus Mamish V'lo Legabe HaMakablim Bilvod Shal Zeh Omer Gam Kein Yoshes Chesed Titrei, that the Eibishter place, literally his hiding place, as darkness. He made darkness his hiding place. אבל סייסה זה הוא מצד הלם העצמוס ממש שלא יבוא לגילוי כלל. So the Rebbe said that that what we spoke before in the which was Misalam Ali de Atzimtzum, that was a oil which was given to Helem V'Giloi. It's of course of its sharp to the whole concept, either it's Behelem or it's a Begiloi. the Tzimtzum caused in it a certain Helim, aber since so its Indian is Shaykh Ela Gilui, but he's a derech, ultimately it's going to come back, one way or another. And how's it going to come back? Derech Hashpah, through the cow. That's even this game. Aber die von Helim HaAtzmus, das ist ein Helim mit seiner Etzem definition, as they say in English. Das ist bei Etzem Bio, wasn't bereg, which you say Atzmus, then you mean as Adaga, which is not Shayat to Gilui. Als te Helim beteug Atzmus. The ene van Atzmus is Muslal Gami Mikol Inin Agilui. And therefore he said that's not Shayat to the whole Seder of where Shayach element. And therefore that's called a hiding place, but that's his own hiding place. Yes, Shaloi Bol Gilui Klar, because that's the Helim of Atzmus, Mami. Zehu Gamkin Inyan Chochma Stimor. Also the Pshat Stimor in Chochma, like we said, it's got two Pirushim. Oi Sosum, Mitzad Mekablim, Oi Sosum Bi Etzem. So we saw that Sosum Mitzad Mekablim, that means that ultimately it can come to the Mekablim. Or Sosum Bi Etzem, well that's another. Those are mitzad the Maila of the Etzem himself. So he says, Gamkein Chochma Stimor, that the Loshen Stimor, Legabi the Madrega, Chochma Stimor is Koilol also such a inyan. The Koilol base mini Stimor is Hanal. All of Stimors Legabi a Makablim. Shalo Yasiguhu, Shaoz, Yucholove, Lifrochim, Begilui, Efes Kotseu, Al-Koponim. And that Lefrokim can be a whole Seder in the Lefrokim. Yeah, the Lefrokim are not just, how do you call it, what's the word, arbitrary. Yeah, the Lefrokim is that Kufa is a Seder. Yeah, Akshav Miskalas, further another Iskalas, and further another Iskalas, Arboin Shnin Koyamin Shadaita. So, yeah, you come to that one way or another. ויוכל להשקלס גם העמק בזה. כמו בבחינס תעלומס חוכמה כנ"ל. Like we saw earlier, that ultimately speaking, the whole Indian goes. And that's what we saw. The Indian van Giloi Ta'alumas Chochma, if you call it Ta'alumas Chochma, then it means it's a Indian of Helim. But the very fact that we call it Ta'alumas Chochma, well, that indicates that ultimately there can be a Iskalas. And that's what we saw. That the Seder of that whole giving of the portion and the Yizkalas HaOra of the Etzem of that oil, not Etzem Ho'er, but the Etzem of that oil, Al Yedei, the Yizkalas, well that leads eventually to the Aliyah, the Makabel, to the Etzem. Koi Minish, Adaita the Rebbe. Va'beis beginnen stimos mitzad Helema Ha'atzmi, and she do the pure Helema Ha'atzmi, that Loshen means Atzmus, yeah, Helim HaAtzmi means how the Atzmus, by definition, yeah, there's one on the cloud, it says, Kol Etzem Einu Miskale. The mitis inne van the Etzem is Muvdal Lagami Mikol Gilui. So therefore he says, well, that's the union of the steamers, yeah, in the Etzem of the Atzmus himself. Shehu kemoi b'chinas atik mamish. Well, it's one of the word atik is ner takve v'nivda. In other words, that's a b'china taktoina sheba ma'atzil. That's him himself. What's it doing in the form of atik? Yeah, we'll have to deal with that one also as we go along. I mean, if it's mamishim, then why is it called atik? Atik somehow or another says that it's moved out me something. שהוא סוסו מצד עצמי שלעולם אי אפשר שיוביל לידי גילוי. In other words, מצד כל הכלולים שבידינו, וכל כללי הגילוי, וכל כללי ההשתלשלות, וכל כללי כל הסדר, מהצמצום הראשון עד לתכלית העשייה וכו', it can never come into Gilui. And all the inyonim what the Eibishter hat ausgestellt, the Seder, afילו mit the Tzimtzum Harishon, with the all inyonim, well, that Madrege will never be begoloi. Pnimius, Atik, the mitis inne van Atik, will never be able to come lidei Gilui. I had to say, how do you call it? A write-off. We'll never have it. We'll never see it. Why? Leizer tzerich was it mishkal, and like we said, the word atik, even though it means ner tatwa nivdal, soft goes off. Stay there in the antique parsha. Vayah take misham oholei. Avraham Avinu moved his tent. Vayah take means he moved from here over to there, which means that it was at Einachanam, it was mistalik from here. Of it went from here. Epis ayachas. Epis is Eishu Indian of a kavana upon him bezeh. The two should have some sort of a
even after Mashiach comes, it's not going to be revealed.
No, don't worry. It's Mashiach had come and everything's going to be misguided. You know the famous how do you call it? I don't want to call it machlekes, the famous clash between the Chassidim. There's some that say that when Mashiach had come, it's only Atzmas HaOyer. It's going to be Mekabel. And other Chassidim are very bragish about that. They say, it's Atzmas HaOyer. Atzmas! Stop! It's going to be Mekabel. Well, if you read the next few lines, you can work it out yourself. He said, where are we? Finished. I immediately said there'll be conduct in time. It'll never come to the Gilui. What is the pshat? And so he said, V'hagilui bozeh. In other words, there ain't no chanam the apes is going to give that also. Who megaleh at gamke. Ela hagilui bozeh she'ahelem ho'atzmi bo lidei gilui. In alle inyanim gilui the ta'ich that the inyan remains what it is, and it gives forth from itself a gilui. That's the pshat gilui. B'chol ha'makayim, that's the pshat gilui. Gilui oya gilui else means that a moyer or whatever it be gives off certain inyanim from itself, and it remains moved al b'toich atzmai, and there's a inyan for gilui mimenu. Those are the pshat. So the Rebbe says that this, when we say that this madrega or the makif von oil chayzer, which is mamish be'etzem, amashpir mitan etzem atzmusay, is the whole inyan for gilui is not really shy. That's what he said. Lo yovel lidei gilui. It'll never come lidei gilui. I don't ever say was it a pshat. If he will be megala, it means that he'll break all the rules. It's a design. Inyan for gilui b'derech harogil. What it means is that the etzem himself will come to the gift. In other words, he'll give everything he's got. That the mashpia will give his etzem himself k'moshe. The etzem itself bo lidei gilui. Shezel l'mayla meaning a gilui. He said he himself is going to come lidei gilui. He said it's l'mayla b'gilui. Shezel l'mayla meaning a gilui shehu miskale racha ora. Ushlefi erach ha'mekablim. Always when we say gilui, ultimately speaking, there's got to be some sort of a kli ela gilui. And then when we say that the amitis inyan from tzeiva, if it's not gilui, the amitis inyan from tzeiva is only gilui ha'etzem. It's only megale the etzem. It's not megale to anybody. And therefore it's not emes a gilui. And therefore it's called hela. And a little bit higher, we talk about the area of mamish b'yechilis, v'chulu, or it's called Helem Moatzmi, Helem Moatzmi. We've got a gilui which is not gilui. It's something else. But then it's nesinus ha'etzem. The etzem gives it to him. And also they got to be kelim mesiyomim l'zeh. Otherwise it's not emes a gilui. They're like the gilui of the seiv. I feel the lower madregas in seiv are not really mamish gilui. Therefore they're called makif and chule, all sorts of lashenas, because the makablim are not really kelim was there. The keil is not mamish makabel. You know what I mean? The fa'is is nish gilui. V'chan ha'gilui hu ha'atzmi. And the atzmi himself goes forth. He gives himself k'moishu. Loisham makablim keilim l'zeh. Rachu b'koach ha'atzmi. It's only in the koach ha'atzmi himself. He can give himself. According to all the klolim, which are nimtzoim b'yadei kaviyochel, ha'elakus, lo sha'at davar. But the koach ha'atzmus, he can give himself away. It's a pretty amazing story. I mean, when it comes to Gilui HaHelim of the Atzmus, that's only his Yichoylus. This is the Yichoylus and the Koyach Atzmus. Ekon Desmach. Who Yichoylus Otavak is there. And he can make that just like he's Helim or Atzmi, he can make that he'll be begotten. Ekon Machen is Echel Renkon. But I'm here, the question is, Ad Mosa.
Ad Mosa.
Isn't it? Ad Mota. Right? I mean, give a cook what's going on. So give a cook what he said. So he says, for who in matan b'seisa yichve af. That's a pasuk in Mishle, that if you give, how do you call it, if you give stock at matan b'seisa, without people knowing, kind of basis, where the money comes from, yichve af, that how do you call it, it breaks anger, it causes all the charoin af to disappear. So isn't that, I thought all of a sudden you bring us out what seems to be a pasuk, like Gabi Azam in Indian. So the Rebbe said, the matan b'seisa, giving hiddenness, the matan of, the giving of the hiddenness. Matan b'seisa, who gilui begint to seisa, v'astimus shemitz ha'eter, shemitz ha'atzmoi, the stimus of definition kind of the eter. He said, that's the unit for matan. He says an amazing touch. Matan b'seisa, the giving of the etzem, hiding place of the etzem. V'al kei nichve af. And therefore that'll break all the balagan, all the dinim and all the masses and all the inyanim and all the terrible things which are happening. V'chuli does it this to brechen. The kol bati dinin is kafyan kamei. Lagabi gilu ha'atzmah. It'll be Gila Atzmah, all the dinim is adults falling of it. Well, what are we waiting for? And that's what, if you ask me, the whole Iron Base is one big nevuah about what's going to be there. If you look carefully, you see always you end up, and you can apply it moment to the situation conditions outside. You notice, every now and then we come to a certain maskana, boom. B'diuk was stood together. I mean, you realize what they're talking about now? You guys live in a little bubble of your own. I don't know if your ways was respectful. Another couple of months, they're making a meeting. They're going to sign it all away. No? Everything. I feel Yerushalayim. I mean, there's all these golems in the government are walking around saying, oh, yes, you have to realize that certain shchunot of Yerushalayim yachzeru leShulton Yardeni. Ein lanu ma lasot b'zeh. You know what that means? You know what Yerushalayim was like before the 6-day war? The Ardenim sind gesetzt auf dem Kreis, Nummer 2. These guys are really bad news. I mean, it's such unbelievable war criminals. There's nothing to. Well, the trouble is that it all began way back after the 6-day war. I told you I found that newspaper that Rabbi said 2 weeks after the 6-day war there was an article in the paper where they said that Lubavitch Rebbe said that they're preparing for a desperate war situation. So they can't understand it. It was a desperate war situation. It's been the most unbelievable victory. Everything is in our hands. It was a desperate war situation. The Rebbe said that they've already informed everybody that they're going to give everything back. So right from Yemo, they already began planning. They're going to give it all back. Remember the whole myth that they've been building up to it's American pressure. The Americans are making us give it back. The Americans, the South Americans, the North Americans, and the England, the Chesed, they're the ones that are making give it back. Oh no, this is a bluff, this is a liegen. They are the ones that have been saying they're going to give it back from the moment they got it. What are we going to do? Change. He says, Matan b'seisa, at the Eibusha would give him sign seisa. If you give his own hidden definition, what does it the etzem, and he can't do it. Only he can do it. Koyach ha'atzma. Oh, you can do that. That's nicht in the klalim. It doesn't fit any klalim. Well, he can do that. Boom, alle dinim and all the everything is what are we doing? What are we waiting for? What is the right? He's a rebel, yes, we say. Was steht da? Das ist nicht da, wo in Koymin ist, da der Rabbi, in Kilo, der könnte man Team zu mit all das ist gewaltig in Jahren, aber forget it. Das ist ein Kilo Atzmusman. The Etzim was himself breaking all of his own rules. If you can pay Dalit, that's what the Friedrich Rebbe, the Rebbe Ayat, he says that all that's going to come, all the Rebbe should say a Tzimtzum, and that's what we're working for. He said, is aber nicht das die alle Metachlis. Die alle Metachlis ist allein. Das ist auch nicht so. Where did you get it from? You got it from them. Where did you get it? You guys want to say that's a machi of the sukkah. When you're sitting in the sukkah, that's the machi. If we wait on hallelujah, Hashem come go in the next one, when that machi will be revealed, all the good. Oh yes. Which means if you would have told them that right from the beginning, they would have said hallelujah Hashem right from the beginning. No. It means when you sit in a sukkah, was to the koch of to breaking the ganze Welt. Therefore the Rebbe says use the time. It's a moment to conquer the ganze Welt. No. I mean, I heard from a couple of guys that told me that they walked in these different, I've got to go now because I got them out with the bottom, but they walked out to these different places on Simchas Torah, they got these shkunis. They said the whole time Schwarzes were coming up to them, what's going on, the children said, what do you got to say, you guys, what's it all about, They were all tremendously happy, and they said, oh yes, the Eibishter, Hashem, oh yes, it's a different world out there. It's a different world. Mamish. That's what you might call the Pshutei HaMamim, they feel that something's coming. Mazrai Uchati, Epis. Hier gaat these communisten, these guys are living 25, 30, 40 years ago, they're living in the old communist, the old Indian, they still can't Avish and they still can't go, and you have to keep back everything, just live like a goy. Be a goy zwischen the goy. They're finished, they're an old world thing. Nobody holds that way anymore. Kind of Mr. thing. If anybody lives today, they live for the Avish that they're looking for.